reminded like the beginning scene of like Criminal Minds or something, you know? Like when somebody's tied up and they're trying to get out, and then all of a sudden the screaming got really, really loud and really intense.
Now watch the CCTV. 9/11 at night, June 8th, 2022. A black car pulls into a lot in Alton, Illinois. Lisa Dodd steps out. She is 22 years old and 8 months pregnant. She walks toward her apartment with the baby's father, a step behind her. This is the last footage of her alive, the last time any camera will ever hold her face. Her final message sits unread on her mother's phone. 4 words. I'm trying to figure it out. Then nothing. Keep your eye on that same doorway. 11:57 at night, a man comes out carrying a white laundry basket. His clothes are different now. His face is covered. He stops beside Lisa's car, thinks better of it, and goes back inside. Minutes later, he is out again, basket in his hands, walking toward the smoke shop on the corner. No one watching that night knew what was inside the basket. No one knew Lisa was already gone. And that was before her mother started calling, before the neighbors stopped hearing screaming, before a construction worker reached into a dumpster the next morning and pulled his hand back fast. 2 questions hang over everything that comes next. What happened inside that apartment between 9 and midnight? And what a man carried out into the dark, twice, while a whole street slept. Alton sits on the Illinois side of the river, a working suburb of St. Louis with a crime rate that runs higher than the state as a whole. On the street where Lisa lived, though, the camera footage shows the ordinary texture of a place people call home. Residents wheel the trash to the curb. They head off to work and come back. Up the road, a construction crew is gutting a building and dropping the debris, sheets of old drywall, into a large red dumpster parked out front. That dumpster will matter more than anyone on the block could guess. But go back first, because to understand the night of June 8th, you have to understand the 2 years that walked up to it. Lisa and DeAndre Holloway are the same age, together on and off for nearly 2 years by that summer. He is the father of the baby she is carrying, a girl the family has been calling Baby Bean. Lisa works at a Dairy Queen and puts money aside for a future in medicine, the field her mother worked in before her. That is the life she is trying to build. The relationship keeps getting in the way of it. Her co-workers loved her. One of them still cannot talk about her without stopping to breathe.
She was just a loving soul, just a beautiful soul. And I just wish she would have known how loved she was. You know, that she wouldn't have ever been alone, that she could have gotten out of this relationship and had a full life.
She could have gotten out of this relationship and had a full life. That line will sit over every hour that follows, because the danger in it was never hidden. It turned up at her workplace. It turned up on her face, again and again, in front of people who cared about her. Her old boss at the Dairy Queen saw it before Lisa would admit it out loud.
I think she was making up a story.
Okay.
And then she finally did tell me that she had some problems with her boyfriend, was hitting her, and they were actually homeless and were living out at the campground at the lake.
The excuses came first, the way they usually do. A dog jumped up and caught her eye, a clumsy accident at home. But the marks kept arriving on a schedule, and the story stopped holding together.
She had a lot of personal problems with a boyfriend, a lot of calling off. She had a lot of black eyes when she would come in. When she first started, she would make excuses that her dog had jumped up and hit her and caused her black eyes. She was constantly running late, like for personal reasons. Always something coming up. She had a lot of black eyes, a lot of bruising on her arms, like where you could see, like maybe grabbing, that kind of thing.
Black eyes, bruises shaped like a grip on her arms. A young woman, constantly late, constantly apologizing, carrying something she couldn't say. And then, one day, her boss didn't have to guess anymore, because she saw it happen with her own eyes, in a car parked behind the building.
What specifically did you see when the day you actually witnessed her being battered? What did you see?
A punch in the face.
You saw Mr. Holloway punch her?
Face,
okay.
Yeah.
So were they in the car when that happened, or were they outside the car?
No, they were in the car, and we have cameras on the back of the building. We actually tried to roll the cameras back, but they're not very good definition, so we weren't able to actually see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was he in the driver's seat?
Yes, he was.
Okay. And did she return to work after that happened?
She did.
And did you see any? Did she have any visible injuries on that
Her
occasion?
face was red.
Okay. And did she say anything, or was she confronted about that?
I asked her about it, and she said they had gotten in an argument. Eventually, after the, excuses about, the dog and things like that stopped, she was honest about it and just said that they were always arguing and fighting, and, then they would make up and it would happen again.
Okay. Did she, specifically that day, when she was struck, was there any conversation, after the fact when she comes back into work about, the police or...
I wanted to call the police, and she did not want to do that.
Okay.
Punched in the face, in the driver and passenger seats, in daylight. Lisa went back to work with a red face and a flat explanation. Her boss wanted to call the police. Lisa asked her not to. The thing is, that is exactly how it works from the inside, where leaving can feel more dangerous than staying put. In July of 2021, Lisa landed in a hospital with a broken nose and 2 black eyes. That September, she texted her boss that he had beaten her again, that her family wanted her somewhere safe, that he had threatened all of them before. She asked, in the middle of all that, whether someone could cover her shift. Then, she went back. They always made up. It always started again. The instability ran all the way through their life together. There was a stretch when the two of them had nowhere to live at all, camped in a tent at a campground out by Lake Litchfield, and DeAndre moved from one relative's couch to the next whenever a fight blew up, dragging Lisa along through that rootless churn. At the start of 2022, they finally landed in the Alton apartment, a real address with a lock on the door. It should have been a fresh footing under her feet. Instead, it became the place the neighbors would learn to brace for. There were quieter signs, too, the kind you only read correctly in hindsight. After one argument out on the street, a witness watched DeAndre stand there and punch himself in the face, over and over, as if handing out his own punishment. By the spring of 2022, he was texting a friend about a pressure he could no longer hold down. Just after midnight on June 5th, he wrote that all the feelings he had ever pushed aside were coming up at once. "My cup filled up," he wrote, "and now it's got to spill over." He wrote that he didn't know how to let anything out without snapping. He wrote that he had always had to be the man, even as a kid, always put in grown situations with too much weight on him. His own words, describing a person walking toward an edge. Then, on Tuesday, June 7th, he disappeared. And for a strange, quiet day, both families went looking for him without knowing that anything was truly wrong yet. He left the apartment around 6:24 in the evening. The landlord's cameras caught him going, on foot, alongside his Uncle Marty, his father's brother, who lived across the river and street, Luis. The uncle was supposed to bring him back that same night, supposed to call before 10. 10 came and went. No call. No DeAndre. His girlfriend phoned the landlord and asked him to pull the footage, and that is how anyone knew which direction he had walked off in at all. Meanwhile, his own relatives were dialing each other in the dark. Lisa reached out to his grandmother first, asking if he was there. He wasn't. The grandmother called his half-sister, PJ, asking the same thing. PJ added Lisa as a friend on Facebook that very day. Two women who had barely met, now trading messages because a man they both loved had walked into the night and not come out of it. Lisa came back from work to an empty apartment and no explanation. Nearly full term and worn thin, she texted her mother, Heidi, around 9 that night. "You think he'd just leave like this?" A minute later, quieter. "I think I got left." She was afraid he had taken some clothes and gone for good. Heidi read it differently. She had worried about this relationship for a long time, and part of her wanted to call this a way out. "If this is how it's meant to happen," she wrote, "at least it was nonviolent, and you've been set free." Her daughter wasn't ready to hear it. "I'm not seeing it that way yet," Lisa answered. Heidi pressed her gently, asking whether he had talked about anywhere he wanted to go, anything that might explain it. Lisa had no answers. "No, we just had a weird day," she wrote, and admitted she had reacted badly to him. What she typed next told her mother how far down she had slid, that she had hurt herself that day, that she had told him she wanted to end her life because she felt like she couldn't get anything right. "Why were you going to do that?" her mother asked. "Because I just can't get it right," Lisa answered. There is a calm in that exchange that is its own quiet alarm. A mother answering a sentence like that steadily, because it is not the first time she has had to. Heidi talked her daughter back from it the way she had learned to, reminding her the stress was reaching the baby. Somehow Lisa steadied. Still, sleep wouldn't come, and at 1:39 in the morning, she took her car out and drove alone through empty streets for half an hour. too wound up to lie still. If DeAndre had been spiraling towards something, then so, clearly, had she. The two of them were a fire looking for a spark. By the next morning, nothing had changed. 7:06, a text to her mother. Still, no. He hadn't come back. She washed her work clothes for a shift she would never make, moving through the motions of an ordinary day while the day underneath it went wrong. Her mother offered a plan. Call the Alton police, ask whether he had been arrested, ask the landlord, a man named Joe, whether the cameras had caught anything strange. Lisa did as her mother suggested and texted Joe herself. My boyfriend didn't come home last night and he left his phone, she wrote. I was wondering if you could watch the cameras and tell me if you see him leave and what he was wearing. His family and I are really worried. The landlord went back through the footage and found the truth of the night before, that DeAndre had walked off with his uncle at 6:24, headed for Street Lewis. It should have been a relief. It wasn't, because the uncle had promised to bring him back hours ago and hadn't. All the while, Lisa kept trying to convince herself he would walk back through the door. I still feel like he'll show up, she wrote, but I can't tell. Wednesday, June 8th. Around 8 at night, a message reaches Lisa out of nowhere. DeAndre's uncle is bringing him home, and everything is fine, it says. Lisa passes it along to her mother, that the uncle is the one who called. Heidi wants to know where this uncle even lives, whether he is still across the bridge in Street Lewis. Yes, Lisa says, and I agree, meaning she thinks the same thing her mother is thinking, that none of this feels right. Heidi does not trust him, and she says so in the way mothers say the hard thing when they are out of gentler ways to say it. Of course he'll make it your fault, she warns, and you had better be careful he doesn't bring something back that Bean will catch. She is picturing the wrong danger. She is picturing a man who has been careless, not a man who has decided something. Lisa goes to pick him up anyway. 9:11 at night, the black car returns to the lot. The camera catches the two of them walking inside, together, one last time. From the car, Lisa sends her mother those 4 words. I'm trying to figure it out. Later, at 10:49, Heidi will text back, you okay? That message will sit there, unanswered. By then, Lisa is already dead. Downstairs, a neighbor is home for the night. She has listened to these two fight through the floor for months, and she knows the rhythm of it. This time, the rhythm is wrong.
For the past few days, they've been arguing, and that's nothing new.
Okay.
They fight, like they used to fight all the time, and it would be loud fighting, and we actually had to call the cops on them before, because I don't know who it was, but somebody picked something up and slammed it against the wall. We assumed it was one of them throwing each other.
Loud fights were nothing new. The police had been called on the couple before, over something thrown hard against a wall. But the night of June 8th did not sound like the other nights. The neighbor got home around 9:30 and found their front door cracked open, which they never left it. Then the walls began to move.
Last night, it was different. It was like, we got home from picking me up from work. I got home from work around 9:30-ish, and their front door was cracked, which is unusual. They don't.
9:30 p.m. last night? Okay.
They don't usually leave their front door cracked, and it was, and that was a little weird. And I heard like muffled yelling, like not screaming, but yelling in a way, kind of like in pain, like you just like snipped your finger with a scissor and you had to put some over your mouth so you wouldn't scream too loud. That's what it sounded like.
So you said it sounded like muffled screaming?
Kind of, but it wasn't too loud.
Okay.
And then later on, we heard like the apartment shakes a little bit whenever you move too much, and it started shaking. And we're like, okay, they must be fighting or something. And we were gonna wait to see if it got better, or like if it didn't, because we were just gonna go sit outside and wait it out.
Yeah.
So we didn't have to deal with it. And so whenever that was happening, the apartment was shaking, they were fighting about something, and then all of a sudden the screaming got really, really loud and really intense. And that was, I would say, probably about 9:45, 9:50. And then the apartment had like 5 or 6 loud like thuds, and they got louder and louder each time.
Okay.
And they shook the apartment as well. And that sounded more like it was coming from
So, like, what did it sound like, experienced in life, to your best ability, that would have created or possibly created the sound that you heard?
Probably, I really don't know other than like chopping wood.
Okay.
Because that's what it felt like. He had enough, I didn't mean to say he, but like, you know, that's what it sounded like there was enough time to do, was like, it was very constant beats too.
Okay.
So that's what made me think it sounded like that.
So do you think it sounded like an instrument hitting something, or do you think, or what? Something is making you kind of envision that through sound. You know what I mean? Like, we hear something and our brain is gonna take that information in, right? What we're hearing, smelling, feeling, and we're gonna kind of like paint this mental picture, right?
Right.
So, what about that sound makes you think chopping wood?
It was more of how steady it was.
Okay.
Because when you chop wood, you know, you gotta lift it up, you gotta hold it, and then you gotta put all your weight into it, and all your muscle.
Yeah.
And when you do it, you go.
And you kind of got a rhythm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it had like 4 or 5, 6 of those beats, and then it just stopped. The screaming stopped, the sound stopped, the shaking stopped, everything stopped.
She stayed downstairs, too frightened to climb up and knock, listening to a quiet that felt worse than the noise. She was so uneasy that she asked her best friend to come over and stand outside with her.
At that point, we heard somebody walk outside, but we weren't able to see because we just glanced down the window, and from the window that the awning is right there, so we can't see down on the patio deck area, and so we couldn't see who it was, but they were out there for about 2 minutes, and then they came back in, and they came upstairs, but I was too scared to see who it was.
And then what?
We went outside to see if so my best friend came over, and because I was like, hey, something's going on, I'm not feeling so right about this. And she was like, I'll come stay outside with you. So we were standing out waiting for one of them to come downstairs, because usually after they fight, one of them comes downstairs.
Okay.
Neither one of them did, but the lights upstairs in their apartment kept turning on and off.
Okay.
So we knew somebody was up there. We assumed it was Lisa.
Okay.
But we didn't see either one of them.
Someone walked out onto the patio for about 2 minutes, then came back in and climbed the stairs. The lights upstairs went on and off, so she knew a person was still moving up there. The 2 women waited outside for one of the couple to come down, the way one of them usually did after a fight. Neither ever came. So she did the thing that felt reasonable in the moment. She texted the landlord. Hey, I don't really know what to do, she wrote. We got home, and as soon as we walked in, we started feeling thumps, and then someone started screaming for like 5 minutes straight. It stopped for a minute, then the thumping started back up. She said the upstairs door was cracked open too. She told him that if she heard it start up again, she would call the police. That is the sentence that haunts this part of the story. She was waiting for a next time to justify the call. There would be no next time. By then it was already too late, and Lisa was already gone. Now the CCTV picks up what the neighbor could not see. 11:57 at night, DeAndre steps outside with a white laundry basket. He has changed his clothes and covered his face. He stops at Lisa's car and doesn't get in, because he doesn't have the keys yet. He goes back up. A few minutes later, he comes down again with the basket, and he walks it toward the dumpster behind the smoke shop. Footage from a nearby business fills in the rest. 1 minute past midnight, a camera catches the white basket going over the lip of the dumpster, loose clothes tumbling in behind it. Inside that basket was the part of Lisa the police would spend the whole next day trying to find. 2 hours later, her car is missing from the lot. He is driving it, alone, across town to his mother's house. His half-sister PJ was asleep. Her sister was not.
And then my sister said around 2:30 in the morning that he's like banging on the door and stuff, and he's like pacing and like acting nervous.
Where?
At my house.
This morning?
Yeah, this morning
Okay.
at 2:30.
2:30 in the morning, banging on the door, pacing the porch, wired and nervous. One of the girls looked out and saw a black car sitting in the driveway. That car belonged to his girlfriend. His girlfriend was not in it. A few hours later, in the daylight, PJ found him in the bathroom doing something no one in that house had seen him do in 2 years.
I seen my grandma standing in the doorway to the bathroom, and I looked, and I'm like, oh, there's Dee. And then he was cutting his hair off and stuff, and I asked him why he was cutting his hair off, and he just said a fresh start.
Okay. And what's his demeanor like?
He was, like, nervous. Like, you can tell he was, like, really nervous.
Just your personal opinion, why do you think he's cutting his hair off?
Got in trouble.
He had not cut his dreadlocks in 2 years. He was proud of them. A fresh start, he said, on the one morning where a fresh start made no sense at all. Then he peeled off the clothes he had arrived in.
Clothes that he had on, he took them outside for some reason, and he set it by the sidewalk, and then he comes back in, and then he was...
Did you see him take those clothes off?
Yes.
So is that why because you said he didn't have a shirt to wear. So when do you see him take the clothes off?
He had a hoodie on and some pants, and then he took his shirt off, or his hoodie off when he was cutting his hair, I guess, because it was already off.
Mm-hmm.
And then he still had the pants on and stuff, and the hoodie was on the bathroom floor.
And then that's when he gets out and asks your mom for clothes?
Yeah.
And then he didn't have a shirt on, obviously?
Because he didn't want to put the same clothes back on.
Okay, what were those clothes?
I know it was a bucket hat. I think it was like blue.
You didn't see anything about a hat. He had a hat on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
He had like a bucket hat on. I think it was like blue or something.
Anything about the hoodie that you recognize?
No.
About the shirt he had on?
No.
So when he gets to the shower, those clothes are all in the bathroom?
Yeah.
And then that's when he gets the gray pants from your mom, and does he ask you for a shirt?
No, I just gave him one.
Because he knew.
Yeah.
So then what does he do with the clothes?
After we got off the shower, he took them outside, put them by the sidewalk where our trash can was. And then he comes back in the house, chats for a little bit and stuff. And then my grandma was cooking breakfast, and she asked him if he wanted a plate. And he said, yeah. And then that's when he went back outside. And then I guess the clothes that he had on the sidewalk, he put them in the trash, which they're in there now.
A blue bucket hat, a dark hoodie. He carried the bundle out to the sidewalk and set it by the trash can, came back in, sat down, ate a plate of his grandmother's breakfast like it was any other morning, then went back out and dropped the clothes into the garbage for good. And all the while, he was handing people things that were not his to hand off.
He had I don't even know what his girlfriend's name is. Okay. But anyhow, he had gave me her ID in the debit card. Okay. And I said, well, why you got her debit card?
Yeah.
And license, you know. And I said, now she out there driving, and then she thinks she got her license, and you got it. Then this morning, he gave me 2 keys.
Okay.
And I said, well, where you get these keys from? And he said he found them on the ground. But he didn't say where he found them on the ground. And I said, well, give it here. I said, then I can get in touch with her.
Okay.
And
you want to put that stuff in there?
I'm getting it back now?
This here?
Yeah.
Is that yours?
No, but I'm going to try.
All right.
I'm going to try to get it to her.
Okay, that's what I'll do. I'll take care of it.
You sure now?
Yeah.
The keys too?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Did he tell you what those keys were for?
He just told me he found them.
What did he say to you when you asked him why he had that stuff? He didn't give you an answer?
Just look like he's in a daze or something.
Lisa's ID, her debit card, her driver's license, 2 keys he claimed he had found lying on the ground. His grandmother took them from him, meaning to get them back to a young woman she had never met and now never would. His sister had already seen the proof parked in their own driveway.
She said that when he was banging on the door and stuff, it scared her, and she was sleeping in the living room watching Netflix when I sleep, but she was awake.
These 4 girls there then? Sister, mom, grandma, all there overnight?
It was me, my mom, sister, grandma, yes.
Yeah.
She said that she hears like really loud banging and stuff, and then she looks out and she said she seen D, and then when she opened the door, she looked in the parkway, in the parking lot thing, in our driveway, and then she said that she seen a black car, and his girlfriend drives a black car.
And then, near midday, he walked out the door with a line that convinced no one.
He said, I'm going to cut some grass. And so she asked him, where was he going to cut grass? And he just said he's going to cut grass.
Okay. And he left on foot?
He left on foot.
Going to cut some grass, on foot. He left Lisa's black car on the street with a handwritten for sale sign taped inside the window, as if a car could be a loose end you tie off with a marker and a piece of paper. Line it all up and the morning tells its own story. A man who changes his clothes and throws the old ones away. A man who shaves off the hair he has worn proudly for 2 years. A man carrying a young woman's ID, her cards, her keys, and passing them to a grandmother who does not yet know what she is holding. A man who leaves that young woman's car on the street to be sold, and then walks off into the middle of the day with a lawn mowing excuse and no lawnmower. Every move he made that morning was a man trying to sponge a night off his hands. But scrubbing a night away is not the same as scrubbing away what is waiting in an apartment on the other side of town, growing quieter and colder. With every hour, her mother's texts go unanswered. 1 o'clock in the afternoon, June 9th. Heidi has not heard from her daughter in more than 15 hours, and Lisa always answers her mother. She drives to the apartment and lets herself into the building. 2 minutes later, the other residents open the door, and Heidi steps back out onto the porch, shaking. The expressions on the neighbors' faces carry the rest of it. And then she picks up the phone.
911 with the address of...
Yeah. Hi. Listen.
What's going on
My
there?
girlfriend's daughter is killed. Yeah.
What's going on there?
My girlfriend, I'm sorry, my daughter's, he chopped her head off.
First responders were dispatched at 12:59 in the afternoon. They arrived to find Heidi on the front steps, unable to stand, crying, giving them the code to get into the building, and then asking, again and again, to be moved away from the neighbor's door. She had gone up before they arrived. She had touched her daughter and found her cold. She was already saying out loud the thing the officers were climbing the stairs to confirm.
Can we go sit on these front porch steps, though? Okay.
Well, I don't want to bother those people.
You know what? I'll tell them.
My car.
I'll tell them to go away. Okay.
It's okay.
Well, I just. Sir. Apartment 4 upstairs to the right.
Oh my God.
Here, let's
Oh God, Lisa, why didn't you listen?
take some big deep breaths for me, okay?
And then I touched her, and she was cold, and so then I wanted to make sure that he just strangled her, and then there wasn't a head. Please find her head.
Please find her head. A mother said that, on a front step, in the middle of an ordinary summer afternoon, the officers went up. The apartment sits on the second floor, and the door was unlocked. In the bedroom, they found Lisa. For her sake, and for the family who has already lived through more of this than anyone should, the description stops where it needs to. What matters for the investigation is what wasn't there. There was no weapon left in the apartment. There was no sign of a struggle spilling out into the hall, no forced entry, nothing knocked loose on the stairs, and there was no head. Whoever did this had wrapped what he left behind and carried the rest out of the building with his own hands, which meant the search for Lisa was not over, even now that she was found. Part of her was still somewhere out in the neighborhood, and the loss was never a single life. It was 2.
They let us know that somebody was found dead next door. To have to lose a child that way, and that baby is an extension of her mother and the rest of her family, so they lost a child as well. They lost 2.
They lost 2. The baby had a due date and a nickname and a shower with invitations already dropped in the mail. A friend had been counting down the days to it.
I had just sent out invitations prior Saturday for the baby shower. We were just excited and kind of gathering the items you need to have a baby.
Gathering the small things you need to bring a baby home. That is what this was supposed to be a story about. While the apartment was still being processed, a piece of the case surfaced 3 blocks up the road. Earlier that same morning, before anyone knew a woman was dead, a construction worker hauling old drywall to a big red dumpster had found something that had no business being in there.
I take them to the dumpster. So when I took them to the dumpster, there's a lot of clothes and shit in there, all strode all over, laundry baskets, and there was a couple pair of shoes. There was shoes with some slipper shoes too. Slipper shoes. Okay. They was red. They had blood on them. They all look like female shit. For real though. Male shit too.
Female and male clothes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Red slipper shoes with blood on them, men's and women's clothes thrown in together in a tangle, and down in that same dumpster, a knife.
This is what the knife looked like. Down like that.
Okay.
That short, with teeth on that mother.
So like a paring knife?
Like with teeth on it, like you cut meat.
Like serrated?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that. That's what the knife looked like. Just
Was
like
the
this.
handle longer than the blade, or was the...
No, it was short, about like this. Yeah, like that. Yeah, that
Okay.
long.
And when you picked up the knife, did you pick it up by the blade? Did you pick it up by the handle?
Picked it up by the blade. I mean by the handle.
By the handle.
Through that mother.
I got you.
There's oh shit, blood on it. That.
Was the blood on the handle? Was it on the blade? Was it covered in it?
Well,
Was
I
it
knew
driven?
it was on the blade.
It was on the blade?
Yeah.
A short blade with a serrated edge, blood dried along the metal. He picked it up, felt in his gut what he was holding, and wanted to be as far from it as he could get. And here is where the two ends of the case reached toward each other. That dumpster, behind the smoke shop, was the same dumpster the man on the midnight footage had walked his white laundry basket toward. Investigators would tie those images together. The arrival at 9:11, the figure with the basket at 11:57, the basket going over the lip of the dumpster at 1 minute past midnight. And then, hours later, a construction worker's discovery in the daylight. The white laundry basket, the bloody clothes, the shoes, the knife, all of it had come to rest in one metal box a few hundred feet from where Lisa was killed. This was where the part of her that had been carried out of the apartment was finally accounted for. The physical evidence was stacking up before the police even had a name to attach to it. But Heidi did not need forensics to tell her who. Standing outside her daughter's apartment, she told a responding officer what she had understood for months.
Even being mom, like, if you knew where he's at, would you tell me?
I would. Like, if I knew what was going on, I would tell you, but from last night of him doing the disappearing act to what's going on now, I have no clue, like, what has transpired.
Are you afraid of him?
Yeah, I got an order of protection on him.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what prompted you to get that?
He was staying with me for a couple days, and he was becoming frightening, like he was going to do something. So I was like, you gotta go. And so when he left, he called my daughter back and was like, I love you guys, but I'm coming back to kill you.
An order of protection, already on file. He had once stayed with Heidi herself for a few days and grown frightening enough that she told him he had to leave. And on his way out, he had called Lisa and said the words a family never forgets. I love you guys, but I'm coming back to kill you. He had said it plainly, out loud, and then he had gone and done exactly that. On the phone to the dispatcher, she did not hedge or hope. She said her daughter's boyfriend had killed her. She said he had a head start and had taken Lisa's car. She named him. Everything she told the police that afternoon, they would spend the next 2 days confirming detail by detail. That is the outrage sitting under this whole case. The threat was on the record. The fear was on the record. The order of protection was on the record. And still there was no wall high enough, no system fast enough to keep him from walking back up those stairs. The investigation moved quickly because the killer had left a trail in every direction. Detectives pulled footage from the apartment cameras and from the businesses along the street and pieced the night together frame by frame. The arrival at 9:11, the man with the basket just before midnight, the dumpster at 1 minute past. Around 9:30 at night on June 9th, they served a search warrant on his mother's house. In the outside trash, exactly where PJ had told them to look, they found the discarded clothing from the CCTV and his cut-off dreadlocks, wrapped up in toilet paper. DeAndre himself was already gone from the house, off on foot, with a line about cutting grass. And so, the Alton department began preparing for the thing they least wanted, a manhunt for a man who had already shown exactly what he was capable of. But at 1:45 in the morning on June 10th, a phone rang, and the case bent in their favor. The call came from the police department in Gillespie, Illinois, a small town more than an hour away. They had taken a man into custody that afternoon and booked him as a John Doe because he flatly refused to tell them who he was. When Alton heard the description, they recognized him at once. It was DeAndre. There would be no manhunt after all. The most wanted man in the county had already been sitting in a holding cell for hours, brought in over something almost trivial.
Search him.
Yeah. Don't have a name.
That's okay. What's her name?
What I have?
What's that?
What I have?
You have cannabis on you.
Oh,
That'll
sweet.
leave.
Okay, exactly. Right.
Cannabis in his pocket, a routine stop, a man refusing to say who he was. On the holding room camera, he cannot keep still.
Need some water or anything?
Yeah, I would like some water because, you know, you guys got to...
Hey. You need some water?
Yeah.
Okay, please get you some water.
Is it okay if I walk around? Is it okay if I stand up and take a step, like a couple steps?
What you gonna do? Why you gotta do that? Pull your pants up or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
That's it.
You're fine.
He's doing his job. This man has done nothing but his job. I swear to you.
You need to sit back down in the chair, please.
Didn't you just say I could pace?
No, I didn't say you could pace. I thought you said you had to get the pants. If you could sit down in there, please. Thank you.
Do you mind if I pace? Is that illegal? I'm here. I'm handcuffed, ain't it?
We don't want that. We want you to sit down.
Exactly. I know you don't want that.
So if you could please sit down, guys.
I can't. I'm handcuffed.
Yeah, you can. You can sit down.
I literally can't do anything. I'm handcuffed.
You need to sit down.
Why are you guys scared of me for what?
I'm not scared. You need to sit down.
How? If I'm literally sitting here pacing handcuffed, I can't do shit.
You gotta
He searched me.
Okay, so what's your name? What they're gonna do is...
I literally asked if I was being detained. That man said no. And then he proceeded to ask me the same question over and over and over. And I said the same thing. And again, he's just not having it because he's got an attitude problem with me. I got an attitude problem too. I know I got one. I got one. That's why I'm not sitting down.
But you know I could make you sit down, so I'm not.
Do it.
What did I just say?
Do it. Sit me down.
I said I could.
Do it.
I'm not going to do it.
Because you're scared. Exactly. I'm handcuffed.
Scared of what?
Do it.
You know, guy, we're not going to get into this.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, weren't you just being mean to me?
I'm not being mean to you.
I
said you're pacing back and forth, and you said, well, set me down. And I said I could if I wanted to, but I don't want to.
He paces in handcuffs. He argues in circles. He dares the officers to force him into the chair and then insists they can't touch him because he is already cuffed. The steadiness of the first minutes doesn't last, and what it slides into is hard to watch.
Don't do that.
They just fucking did that. You come in here.
Don't do that.
Do something. That's what I'm saying. Do something. Do something. Don't do that. That's what I'm saying. Don't do that.
They pull him back off the wall before he can do himself more harm, and they hold him down on the floor. Even pinned, even cuffed, he keeps talking, certain that someone is coming to walk him out of there.
Just ask my folks to come get me out.
Well, we don't know your name, so...
Exactly, but my folks will be there to get me out.
Who's your folks? I don't know who you're gonna...
Don't worry about it.
Who's your folks? Don't worry about it. He still would not give up his name, the same name the detectives already had written down. The refusal was pointless. They knew exactly who he was. The investigators from Alton drove out to Gillespie and arrested him on suspicion of Lisa's murder, and they served a warrant for his DNA, his fingerprints, and other samples, the quiet forensic work that would tie the man in the holding room to the blood on the blade in the dumpster. Around midday the next day, June 10th, nearly a full day after Heidi found her daughter, they sat him down in an interview room and tried to get him to speak. He would not. He said he wanted to go to work, though it was not clear he had a job to go to. He said he had dissociated, that a doctor had once put him on medication. He gave them nothing about the night, nothing about the apartment, nothing about the basket or the car or the keys. Then he asked for a lawyer, which was his right, and the questioning ended there. On June 13th, the charges came down in a stack. 2 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of intentional homicide of an unborn child, concealment of a homicidal death and the abuse of a human body, and charges tied to taking Lisa's car. Bond was set at $2 million. The pain of it reached all the way up to the police chief, who could barely keep his voice level in front of the cameras.
What happened to 22-year-old Lisa Dodd, who had just moved to this place in Alton is beyond irreprehensible. It is completely terrible what happened to her. Her unborn child was also killed as a result of this.
Beyond repair, his word for it. And across town, another family was standing up to speak. The family of the man who did it. His stepfather, Chris Hawk, sat down in front of a camera days after the arrest and recorded something he never imagined recording.
I never thought I would be recording a video like this. First of all, I want to offer my condolences to the Dodd family. I cannot imagine what you must be going through. I'm not going to deny that what happened was an extreme act of evil. It was. I don't know how else to explain it. It was an act of evil. I don't know if there's a word that describes it. And over here, we are ashamed. His mom, his sister, we're all shocked. We knew he was capable of violence, but we never saw this. We've been trying to get help for him for at least 3 years. But as far as longer term mental care, we were always told that we can't hold them unless they've done something.
An act of evil, said by the man who helped raise him. He did not ask anyone to excuse what was done. He asked people to understand that his family had spent years trying to get help for someone they knew was slipping, and kept being told there was nothing to be done until it was too late.
Our system fails. People with mental problems. I've grown up in an environment with mental problems. And people are kind of left on their own. It's a tragic situation. This is the D that we knew. They're old pictures, but they show that there's a human there. The human does exist. He's not a monster. What he did was monstrous. He's not a monster. I'm not advocating that DeAndre should ever be allowed to enter civilized society again. I mean, he's obviously crossed the line there. I'm not advocating anything like that. I'm just saying there's a human being here, and it's tragic. It's tragic what mental illness has done to him.
He's not a monster. What he did was monstrous. Hold those two sentences in your hands at the same time, and you are standing where that family has had to live ever since. The case dragged on from there, and it dragged in part because of DeAndre himself. In jail, he refused to come out of his cell and threatened the corrections officers guarding him. And one of those threats was an echo of the crime itself, that he would cut off their heads. When a virtual court date arrived on June 14th, he refused to attend, and officers had to physically restrain him and bring him in front of the judge. The behavior did not settle. A court found him unfit to stand trial, which does not mean he was found innocent and does not mean the charges went away. It means a judge decided he could not yet understand the proceedings well enough to take part in his own defense. So he was sent to a state institution for treatment, held there until doctors judged him competent enough to be brought back and made to answer for what he had done. There was one more blow waiting for Lisa's family inside the machinery of the law. Around the same stretch, the Illinois Supreme Court ruled that an unborn child could not be counted as a second murder victim for the purpose of seeking a life sentence, a legal line that had nothing to do with how much this family had lost and everything to do with the wording of the statute. It put a ceiling on what the prosecutors could ask for. Even with that ceiling, in January of 2024, DeAndre entered a guilty plea, sparing the family a trial that would have forced every detail of that night back into the open. And on January 17th, 2025, he was sentenced 60 years, 30 years for the murder, 20 for the intentional homicide of the unborn child, 10 for concealing what he had done, each term stacked on top of the last, instead of running side by side. He will serve at least 52 of those years before anyone even considers letting him out, which means, at his age, most likely the rest of a natural life. No one has ever pried loose a clean answer for why he did it. Jealousy over a child some believe wasn't his by blood, a relationship caving in under its own weight, a long pattern of violence that finally went as far as violence goes. The truth stayed locked inside him. What did not stay locked was what Lisa's family chose to build out of the wreckage he left them.
We're here to announce that DeAndre Holloway was convicted and sentenced in the murder of Lisa Dodd and her unborn child today to 60 years in prison. And I want to introduce Heidi, Lisa's mother and grandmother of the unborn daughter, to give a few words reflecting on today's verdict and sentence.
I would like to thank the many law enforcement agencies that collaborated on my daughter's case. A special thank you to Officer Wimmersberg of the Alton Police Department for his excellent work on this case. I am forever grateful for your time and wisdom.
This is a tragic outcome of a 2-year on and off again domestic violence relationship. This didn't have to end this way. My daughter should be here raising her toddler
instead of being a casualty of domestic violence. If you have a mental instability or mental illness, seek treatment and be consistent with your treatment. Understand that your condition or illness will not keep you from being held accountable for the crimes you commit. If you are in a domestic violence relationship, if someone is emotionally, mentally, or physically abusing you, make a safe plan to leave that relationship. If they continually disrespect your boundaries, make demeaning comments, and control your every movement, this is abuse. Find the resolve to leave that relationship. If someone threatens to end your life, believe them. If they can say it, think it, and talk about it, they can carry out the threat. Reach out to your local, regional, or national resources that are available to assist you in making a safe plan to leave. Your life depends on it. It isn't easy, and it may be one of the hardest things you do, but your life is important, and you are worthy and deserve a life free from abuse.
60 years. Read into the record of a courtroom, with Heidi on her feet facing the man who took her daughter and her granddaughter in one night. She did not only grieve in that room, she turned the grief outward into a warning aimed at every person still living inside a house like the one Lisa could not leave. If someone threatens to end your life, believe them. Make a plan. Get out. Even when getting out is the hardest thing you have ever done. Your life depends on it. In that same room, Heidi took a moment to thank the people who had carried the case, the law enforcement agencies who worked it, and one officer by name, Officer Wilmersberg of the Alton Police Department, for the work that put DeAndre where he now sits. The prosecutor, standing beside her, said aloud what everyone in that courtroom felt, that you rarely see the kind of strength and grace a family showed facing the man who took 2 lives from them. And then he shared one detail from the scene that has stayed with everyone who heard it. When they found Lisa, her hand was resting on a book about pregnancy. Her last act, reaching toward the daughter she was carrying. Her last thought, most likely, of the baby she would never hold. There is a small and unbearable grace in that image, and the family has chosen to hold on to it. She's with us now, the prosecutor said. That was the closest thing to comfort the day had to offer. The money raised in Lisa's name climbed to around $16,000, and her family chose to hand it forward to a local domestic violence resource so that the next young woman caught in that same trap might find a door out that this one never did. Her mother wrote to the people who had given that this sentence brought some measure of resolution to a heinous crime. No sentence and no amount of time, she wrote, would bring her daughter or granddaughter back. But this one should keep him from ever doing this to anyone else again. That was the whole of what she asked for at the end. Not undoing, because there is no undoing this. Only that he never get the chance to take another daughter from another mother. Lisa once posted a poem to her Facebook page. It is the closest thing to her own voice left in this story, and it is where this ends. After a while, it goes, you learn the subtle difference between holding a hand and chaining a soul. You learn that love doesn't mean leaning and company doesn't mean security. You begin to accept your defeats with your head up and your eyes open, with the grace of a woman, not the grief of a child. And you learn that you really can endure, that you really are strong, and that you really do have worth. And you learn and learn. With every goodbye, you learn. She was 22 years old. She was 8 months from meeting her daughter. She should be here.